It's where all the fruit is.
I'll take the other side.
Let's talk yesterday's big NBA news now. The Clippers have found a coach. He's a good one. He's a familiar one. LA tapping Ty Lue to take over a team that came woefully short of a title this year. Ty knows a thing or two about leading a team to a title in his first season. Got to the finals 3 straight seasons in Cleveland before moving on to LA. Of course, then he had LeBron. Now he has Kawhi. And now we have Chris Broussard. All right, Broussard, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Gotta ask, will anything change for the Clippers now that they have hired Ty Lue to be their new head coach?
Absolutely. Look, whoever they had hired, if Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and those other players who will be back have competitive bones in their body, they were going to come back humbled and motivated to redeem themselves. They were the biggest disappointment of the season. So they got to come back as competitors, more humble, ready to work harder, ready to develop more chemistry. Kawhi's got to do away with at least some of the load management. So I think that's a plus. But then let's bring in Ty Lue. One thing I consistently heard about Doc Rivers was that he would not hold his stars accountable. And that rubbed the other players the wrong way and disrupted the chemistry. Now Ty Lue, everyone says about Ty, he is not afraid to hold superstars accountable. If he held LeBron James accountable, he can hold Kawhi Leonard and Paul George accountable. That in and of itself will be a big help. We know the team has talent. There's no question about that. I think this is a good move for the Clippers. I'm not ready to make a prediction yet, but I think they'll be better this year than they were last year.
All right, let me start with Ty. I am so happy for Ty Lue. He is a great guy. He's an excellent coach, and he held out for what he deserved salary-wise and contract length-wise, and it worked out to his advantage. And he still gets to live in L.A., and unlike if he were coaching the Lakers, his seasons are going to be about a month shorter than if he were coaching the Lakers. Yeah. So it's more money and less work. So that's good. So I'm happy for my buddy Ty. Now, as far as how much of an impact will this make, Chris Broussard, I have a very quick question for you. You've been on television for, 15, 20 years. How many times you've been late to a show?
God, I don't even know if
maybe
once.
Never?
Maybe once. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Maybe never.
So I would say for us to see a cultural shift with the Clippers, I would say step one for Ty Lue is to tell Kawhi, you either got to move from San Diego or you got to set the alarm clock a little bit earlier. Because what was discussed in the Joe Von Buha athletic report was one of the reasons folks on the Clippers felt Kawhi got special treatment was he couldn't even be bothered to show up to team flights on time all the time. So it wasn't just load management. It wasn't just practice when you want to practice. It's everyone's waiting on you to get here. And so it's one thing if Kawhi Leonard, Brandon, doesn't want to be a vocal leader.
Yep.
That's not who he is. Fine. It's another thing entirely if his actions are displaying either a lack of seriousness or a feeling of the rules don't apply to me at all, as basic as when the team plane is leaving. And I do think Broussard is absolutely right, Brandon, that it starts with Ty holding him accountable for those things at the very least if they're going to have a cultural shift in Los Angeles with the Clippers, Brandon.
100%. I absolutely love this hire. When I saw this on our sheet of what we're going to discuss today, I thought about 2016. And I think everybody remember this moment because it was an interesting moment. 2016, the NBA Finals, the Cavaliers against the Warriors. On the bench, 2 minutes, 27 seconds left. Ty Lue tells LeBron, shut that up. Do you remember that moment, Nick? So when you talk about holding your players accountable, like Ty Lue was able to do that with LeBron. So when you think about Kawhi and whether it's moved from San Diego and back to L.A. and set your alarm or, maybe we need to push you a little bit more. There's nobody that's more comfortable doing that outside of Ty Lue. They went in a locker room in that game. And it was the same conversation. LeBron James is going around to Damon Jones and then his teammate James Jones, and Ty Lue comes back out and says, shut up. This is my team. And they go on to win it. So I love Ty Lue because you talk about accountability and there's nobody better. But then there's another name, Paul George. And our producer, Charles, here on the show, there's nobody better about discussing the Clippers than him. He grew up a Clippers fan. So when I'm like, so who do you think is the bigger problem? And his first response was Paul George. Like, that is the guy in the locker room that seems not to mesh with everyone else. So you insert Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups is that guy that can probably move him emotionally. For me as a player, it wasn't always the head coach. It wasn't always the wide receiver coach. Sometimes it was Todd Bowles in Miami, the defensive coordinator, that was able to move me emotionally and push me. And when I went to the Jets, it was Brent Boyer, our special teams coach. So I really like this combination. I think if they clean this up, they can easily be back where they're supposed to be next year. And that's in trouble. And your Lakers in trouble.
Oh, boy. I
So
also love
they
the
shouldn't have
Chauncey
blown him up.
hire,
All right.
Broussard. Mom.
Yes.
But Broussard, I don't think they need a full demolition, because if they did, I think Ty Lue would have gone and joined the Pelicans with David Griffin. I think he looked at it and said, like, you know what? We just need a slight remodeling. We need to move 10%, and I think I can do it just like I did it with the Cavs. I think the Chauncey hire, it didn't get the big headline, but I think it's a very important hire. Like, I got to work with Chauncey a lot at NBA Countdown. If Chauncey was like, hey, Kevin, we're going to go to Mount Everest, I'm like, all right, I'll follow you up Mount Everest. He's that type of leader. I've talked to him about, like, personal stuff, career stuff. I've talked to him about what it's like to own a Wendy's franchise, which he owns a few of. The other good, interesting thing about not just how he's going to relate to Paul George, you think about it, Broussard, there's only been 31 guys who have won Finals MVP. Kawhi's won it, and Chauncey has won it. So the idea that Chauncey can relate to Kawhi on a different level, because that is the most select group of all select groups. The one thing I want to push back on you, Broussard, is this. With the season, we don't know what the season's going to look like. Maybe it starts in late January, maybe it starts in February. We don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know if the answer is Kawhi has to play more games. It doesn't feel like he wants to do that, and it feels like you'd be walking into a fight right away. I would rather take the tack that Toronto take, like, hey, what are we going to do? Let's make it work. Pinning the Clippers chemistry issue on his load management issues, I think that's not the right move. I think load management is just what you're getting with this guy.
No, I'm not saying that was the cause of the chemistry issues, but it sets a bad tone for the team, because it's like we can drop Kawhi in every, 2 out of every 3 games and be fine. No, this is the NBA. You need to develop chemistry. We saw that, period. The Clippers, Anthony Davis played through injuries. LeBron played through nicks and knocks and things like that. And we saw what happened with them. Kawhi's got to come back ready to play. I don't think they may not play 82. But if they do, 70 to 75 games. You can't be missing 20 games if you're not really injured.
1,000%
and they can't coach they can't coach Kawhi scared. Because Kawhi, I know he can leave after next season. He's not going anywhere. He's from Southern California. He's been to 2 other teams already. Where's he going? He wanted to be in LA.
I think that's right.
Stay.
I just want to add one other thing. I think they're smart to hire Ty Lue. We'll see what happens with Kawhi if he adjusts his routine, if you will. But if all of that goes perfectly, if the Clippers do not get bigger, they are drawing dead against the Lakers. This was forgotten in them blowing a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets. But with Anthony Davis playing at this level, with the Lakers having this much size, the Clippers roster, as currently constituted, Jenna, is inherently flawed. And that, no matter who the coach is, unless they address some rim protection, they've got no shot whatsoever. So this is a good first step, but the roster needs to be retooled somewhat as well, Jenna.
All right, well, Ty Lue having to talk to Kawhi is like Kramer having to fire Raquel Welch, if no one sees that parallel. Other big news in the NBA, Daryl Morey stepping down yesterday as the Rockets general manager after 13 seasons in charge. Houston now needing a general manager and a head coach. So, Nick, you interested? No. What do you make of the Morey era in Houston?
Listen, they never quite got over the hump. But here are some facts about Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey, since they acquired James Harden, the Rockets made the playoffs every single season. They are the only team in the NBA to make the playoffs every single season over that span. Also, during the KD Warriors run, there was only one team to take the healthy Warriors to at least a Game 6. And that was the Houston Rockets. We're up 3-2 in that series until Chris Paul pulled his hamstring, tore his hamstring, and they end up losing the series. He did not ultimately achieve his final goal, Broussard, but I think if anyone were to call this time a failure, they are totally missing the point. And the Rockets have the second best winning percentage in the NBA in his tenure. They never bottomed out, and he kept retooling. So I think he's an excellent GM. I think he's going to take some time away from the game and then probably come back and retool another team. But that's how I'll remember the Morey era, Broussard.
Nick, it was ultimately a failure, all right? Daryl Morey's a good GM, all right? But it was a failure. You were there 13 years. You got to 2 conference finals, never got to the NBA finals, let alone won the championship. That was the charge. All the money they spent, all the superstars they brought in, 2 conference finals? If this was Washington, Charlotte, that'd be acceptable. Houston has always been a stellar franchise. They've never been a joke. They've had some of the best players in NBA history. They made 4 finals, won 2 of them before Daryl Morey got there. So just making them relevant, cute, sexy, and in the playoffs for 8 straight years, that's not enough in Houston.
They were the best team in basketball in 2018. They had the best record. They were 3-2 on the Warriors, and their second best player tore his hamstring. Listen, I get it.
That's like me saying the Clippers were the best team.
It's all that matters. No,
yes.
Nobody got hurt on the Clippers. They didn't have the best record in basketball. It's nothing like that's fine. No. It's not that rings don't matter, but if rings are all that matter, that's fine. I got it. No, I get it.
Did they get to the finals?
I understand. It's all that matters.
Did they even get to the finals?
No, because they.